intolerance for emotional distress has become so problematic, right? And I mean, you know, in my career, and this is something that I was actually talking to some colleagues about, with how the political climate currently looks for us, you know, the question was raised of what do we do as psychologists? Like, what is our responsibility here? What is our, you know, ethical duty as it pertains to the standards of practice that we have and sort of the ethical limitations that we need to abide by? And one of my colleagues said something I think very profound, where she said, you know, on the one hand, yes, we have to speak out against extreme forms of unnecessary violence and harm and hurt and all of that. But on the other hand, are we not going to just perpetuate the problem if we don't ourselves have the tolerance to sit with someone who thinks differently than we do? And, you know, as a psychologist, I don't have to agree with what my clients' opinions are. I don't have to see their scenarios the same way. I don't have to agree with them, but I do have to show empathy for them as a human being. And it's actually through that empathy that we build tolerance and understanding, right? Because I mean, if I just looked at someone who had an opinion that was the opposite of mine and said, fuck you, right? I'm not even gonna have this conversation. What good is that gonna do? That's just gonna keep that divide further. But if I look at them and I go, you're a human being, and I wanna understand you as a human being, well, maybe I find something to connect to that resonates for me. Maybe we continue to completely disagree with one another on how we think the world should be, but I get to learn that maybe, you know, your viewpoint comes from fear. I can understand that. I know what fear is like, you know, or maybe it comes from insecurity. I can also empathize with that. I've been insecure, you know, and then all of a sudden it becomes two human beings sitting in a bubble of tolerance and empathy rather than two extreme ideologies trying to rip each other's throats out.